Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Wanti and today I want to share my research with title Motion Sensitivity Analysis for BRT Infrastructure in New Capital City with the System Dynamic Approach. This presentation has several parts including introduction, literature review, methodology, result and discussion, and the last is conclusion. The President of Republic Indonesia has declared that the capital city was originally Jakarta will be moved to East Kalimantan. There are several reasons for moving the capital to East Kalimantan, such as the overcrowded inhabitants of Java Island, economic contribution to GDP, the clean water crisis, to large and congestion occur on the Java Island, urbanization growth is too high on the Java Island, and threat of danger of flood, earthquake, and land subsidence in Jakarta. But one of the most important reasons is that this is changing to Indonesia-centric, not Java-centric. Based on the master plan designed by Ministry of National Development Planning, or Bappenas, there is one of the 8 KPI plan for the transportation sector, namely 80% of mobility using public transportation. So if the center of government must move, then the government must also prepare public transportation for residents who will move to IKN later. So what is the basis of the research? How is the ability of government funds to serve BRT mode share planning by paying attention to BRT infrastructure development? The national capital of Earth, often called IKN, has a land area of 256 hectares, in which there is a central core area of government, or KIPP, National Capital Region, or KIKN, and IKN Development Area, or KPIKN. In 2025, it is planned that several civil servants will move to IKN, which will later be located in KIPP with land area of 6,000 hectares. The stage of infrastructure development, both building and roads, go hand in hand because to pursue the target 2025, it will be soon occupied. System thinking. A thinking system is a causal approach to describing the reciprocal relationship between variables and system. A causal loop diagram, or CLD, the result of the system thinking is the initial stage in the development of system dynamics model. So, CLD is the basic building block in the development of system dynamics model. System dynamics. The main idea is that any complex system can be modeled with no more than two types of variables, namely stock and flow. The stock is the accumulation of units and graphically present as a rectangle. Flow, which can be either inflow or an outflow, implying to the movement of units per time and visually illustrated by a round outflow. Bus rapid transit, or BRT. BRT is a bus-based fast transportation system that has a potential provide to high-quality transportation system, has a high-quality service at a relative low cost, and has its line. Mode share. Mode share is typically displayed as a percentage value of each transport type. The deviation of mode can be measured for a specific type of travel or total of all trips made in a city for a certain period. Relationship land use and transportation. The interaction between land use and transportation has a theoretical strategy that includes technical, economic, and social theoretical. When there is a change in the land use, there is a change in human activities and the mobility of people and goods. The study focused on analyzing the needs of bus services that will be applied at IKA and analyzing the number of people traveling using public transportation and the amount of investment made by the system dynamics method. The conceptual model shown in the figure in the causal loop diagram. IKN is a vacant lot built to become a city. The conceptual model is shown in the causal loop diagram is shown in this figure. The existence of population and income will increase the income per capita. The higher the income per capita gives a high indication of travel demand. If the travel demand indication is higher, it will increase the total travel demand. This will also cause high demand for travel using public transportation. But the other things, the high use of public transportation is also influenced by its attractiveness to public transportation. The more the use of public transportation, the need for public transportation is also increasing, and the public transportation investment needed is also increasing. If the IKA investment is high, then the value of public transportation assets is high. The high assets of public transportation will increase the number of public transportation or buses now that will be provided. The increasing number of buses will increase the capacity of the public transportation itself, but will reduce the utilization value of the public transportation. But if the utilization value of the public transportation increases, the number of public transportation now will also increase. The result of the causal loop diagram representation are then developed into a model system dynamics method by compiling stock flow diagram. This is the submodel population and income. The amount of people's income can depend on the GRDP itself. However, in the case of this IKN, the amount of income can be seen from the amount of initial income of population who will occupy the IKN later. Of the amount of income, it affects his average per capita income, and average per capita income will be an input for the travel demand submodel. This is travel demand submodel and desired public transportation submodel. As a primary input, the average per capita income determines the indication of travel demand. The higher the income per capita, the more frequent of the person's desire to travel, and the person walks farther and farther. It is also influenced by how eager people are to travel. The presence of indication of travel demand will increase actual travel demand and also increase the demand for travel using public transportation. The demand for travel that uses high public transportation also affects the need for public transportation facilities and the need for investment public transportation. This is a investment submodel. The increasing need for public transportation investment has also increased public transportation asset. The higher the asset has the effect of increasing public transportation now and also affect the high capacity of public transportation now. High public transportation capacity will reduce the utilization of public transportation. Data analysis. Several variables are calculated by looking at the historical data, but in this case, the variable that can only be validated is the validation of population with the projection of the population. The function of this data validation is to find out how accurately the data can be built. The existing population in 2020 is construction workers who will build infrastructure such as road infrastructure and building infrastructure. By 2025, it is hoped that IKN can be occupied by several state officials, soldiers, police, and their families. In 2045, it has been planned that the maximum population in the IKN as large as 1.9 billion people who will occupy in IKN. The magnitude of validation comparison value between population and population project is seen as in table. Results and discussion. In the picture of indication of travel demand in 2025, the number of indication is 58 million people kilometer per year. And the right side is actual travel demand using public transportation. And for the actual number of public transport users in 2025 has a value of 2.9 billion people kilometer per year. That amount of the use of public transportation is also influenced by how much of the attraction to lure IKN residents to use public transportation. The chart also shows the high demand for public transportation users every year. And this is the result for public transportation share. In 2025, the mode share is generally 10%, and in 2045, it will be 50%. This is influenced by the magnitude of the journey of people's public transport to the size of overall journey of people. The left side is result for desired public transportation. The high demand for public transportation travel also is affect the need of public transportation. And the graph of public transportation needs in 2025 is for buses will be needed to serve public transportation users. But on the chart, it continues to grow every year. The right side is result for desired public transportation investment. Likewise, the need for public transportation investment in 2025, the investment requires 16.5 billion rupiah to prepare the bus facility. The investment needed is determined by the type of bus to be used, but in this study, the bus used in electric bus, so the investment needed is greater than non-electric bus. The left side is a result for public transportation asset. Increasing need for public transportation investment has also increased the assets for public transportation. This is influenced by the amount of investment from the government for public transportation and also depreciation value of public transportation. In 2025, the number assets will be 2.5 billion rupiah. The right side is a result for current public transportation. The higher the number of assets will increase the number of public transportation now. The amount of public transportation that must be provided or current number in 2025 in one bus and in 2030 there will be an increasing and 16 buses will be provided. This is the result for current public transportation capacity and public transportation utilization. The current capacity of public transportation has a value that increases every year. The magnitude of capacity in 2030 is 11 billion people kilometer per year. The high capacity makes according to him the utilization of public transportation itself. In the same year, the number of benefit from public transportation has obtained the value of 3.1 and the value decreases every year. The conclusion. Along with the ongoing development of road infrastructure, the government also obliged to provide the availability for buses for the movement of people who will inhabit the IKN for mobility. In the result, it can be seen that the willingness for buses is also still small because there are still a few residents who move. In 2030, the amount of mode-share is rises is to 20%, and the amount of public transportation that must now be provided is as many as 17 buses with a cost of 81 billion rupiah. The value of public transportation utilization has decreased because the existing capacity is greater than the traveler request. The higher the existing share or the planned share, the government must provide the appropriate budget so that the facility needed can be served the passenger. If we want to have a high share value, the government is also obliged to provide a high attractiveness so the share can be achieved, and also many people prefer public transportation, and this study and this scenario for attractive the passenger. And thank you so much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.